Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So, in today's point of view, the Pleiadians wanted to talk to us a little bit about making contact with our star family. Now, a couple videos back, the Pleiadians shared a little process for anyone that wanted to connect with them. Because as they've been saying for the past couple of years, they are very excited to work with any humans that want to work with them. So a few videos back, they shared a simple process for making contact with them. So if you missed that video, I will try to remember to link it in the comments. But today they wanted to talk about what it actually looks like when you make contact with them, because a couple of people have been trying to connect with their guides or their star family and feeling like it's not quite happening and wanting to know if they're making a mistake, if they're getting it wrong. So the P's wanted to talk a little bit about what this first contact actually looks like, because it's a little different from what you might be expecting. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about what does our first connections with multidimensional beings actually look like? Because most of us are doing this far more often than we actually realize. We're just looking in the wrong direction. But before we jump into talking about how to connect with our galactic family, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. Now, as we were talking about, one of the things that many of us on the spiritual path are most excited about is making more contact with our higher self, our guides, our star family. And a lot of us do a lot of work to make that happen. And there are many wonderful intuitive tools out there to help you open your multidimensional abilities. But it's also very important to understand how this actually looks in reality. Because for most of us, we come at this like humans. I know that when I was first trying to open my abilities, I kept telling my teachers, I can't hear anything. It's not working. Even though I was doing all of my tools exactly the way I had been taught. And my teachers would kind of laugh and watch what I was doing and say, Peyton, it's not going to sound like the voice of God booming in your head. Because as humans, we think that communication is going to happen the way it does with other humans. And so it's just easy for our human mind to expect verbal answers because that's what communication is, right? It's words, it is sound, it is thought. And so a little of us can make the mistake, as I did, of thinking that when we start to stretch these new abilities and reach out to our team, that we're going to get a verbal answer. And that's generally not the case, at least at first. So when we start a process of opening up our abilities, the first way that our guides, our higher self, our star family reach out to us is usually through the body. So as we are sitting in meditation and inviting more contact, more communication, our guides will tend to focus on our physical bodies first. For the simple reason is that they're going to try to get through to us however they can. And the hardest thing for them is we tend to be in the mind. As humans, it's just what we do. And they can't break through if we're in our mind. So the first thing that happens is they'll start to calibrate our physical bodies. So the first way to look for communication and contact from your team as you're sitting in meditation and focusing on your heart center is to feel for sensation in your body. I know this is the first way that my guides started to work with me, is they would work through sensation. So instead of hearing them and having downloads of thoughts, which is how, of course, I work with them now, it started with the body. So I would notice tingles. I would notice my hands getting cold. I would notice that my foot started to itch. So very kind of things that seem a little silly, but they're going to start to connect with you however they can break through your mental defenses. And the body is usually the way they go. Now, some people will, of course, start right away to get colors. Flashes of color in the mind are very common. Other people will experience flashes of light. So if you're sitting in meditation and feel like you're seeing flickers and flashes of light behind your eyelids, that's another way that they will often make contact with you. But essentially, when you're starting this process, it's going to be very subtle. Don't look for that voice of God booming in your head. If you are getting very loud verbal responses, it's probably your ego mind. So the first thing to know as you're starting to explore connecting with your team is that it's going to start out very, very subtle. You're going to think you imagined it. You're going to think that that was just a random twitch of your leg. But actually, the first contact that I had with my team was I was sitting on the couch and doing my meditation, inviting them to work with me, which is always a great practice if you haven't tried that. And the first way they made contact was they made my leg jump. So it was like I had this little spontaneous twitch of my leg, and it just kind of jumped up in the air for a second. And so they started to work first with my physical body because I was way too in the mind at first. So looking for those sensations is a great way to start looking for contact. So don't go looking for it to be this loud voice answering you in complete sentences. It doesn't work that way at first. Now, if you pay attention to the sensations that you're starting to get, to any flashes of light you may be getting, to any changes in temperature on your body, you may also notice things like pressure in the physical body. You may notice that they tighten your muscles in a particular spot. That's another way that they will start to reach out to you, to start to calibrate your energy. Now, when you're starting this process of reaching out to your team, whether that is working with your higher self, working with your spirit guides, reaching out to your star family, it's very helpful to start out by doing this in meditation. For the simple reason that we have to be in our heart space to be able to connect multidimensionally. Because as I've said in lots and lots of videos, if you are in the mind is designed to block out multidimensional communication. That is its whole function. So the mind is designed to block out information, wisdom from the higher realms. And the reason for this is the mind lets us have a 3D experience. And that was the whole name of the game for, well, the last thousands of years here on Earth. So in order to get out of the mind, it's really important for us to be anchored in the heart space. And the piece just went into a lot of detail on how to do that in the last video. So check that out if you need a little bit of help with that. But starting this process from meditation is a great way to go about it. Now, another thing that can really help you with this is to invite your guides and your team to work with you. Because as we have talked a lot about, our guides and our galactic family are never going to infringe on your free will. So they are never going to come barging in and violating your free will. So when we want to start increasing our communication with our team, it's really important to extend the invitation. Because as you do that, you show that you are ready, that you are willing and able to start connecting at higher levels of your consciousness. So if you haven't tried that simple little process of actually inviting them in, that can be very, very helpful. Now, something else that will be super helpful is to set a very clear intention for your communication. Because the multidimensional world is just like our human world. There are lovely, wonderful people and people who are not so lovely and wonderful. And the same goes in the higher realms. There are energies that we would love to connect with and those that we should probably take a pass on. So it's very important if you are going to start this process of opening communication to set a crystal clear intention every time you practice. And a great way to do this is to just set the intention to only invite communication in love for the best and highest good of all, for the most benevolent outcome of all. This is really simple, but it is very, very important because you are always sovereign as you start this process of opening up to multidimensional communication. So you are the one who lays the ground rules. So you don't want to just throw open the front door of your house and go out of town for the weekend. And you don't want to do that when you're starting to open yourself to communication either, because something you don't want is going to wander in at some point. So setting your intention, being very clear and specific as to who you're inviting to work with you. Super, super important. And then as you start to make this a regular practice, and y'all, this is not something that is one and done. You do not sit down one time and just start doing this. This is like learning a new language. It takes time. It takes practice. And if you are getting very loud verbal answers right away, you're probably in the mind. So expecting this to be gradual, expecting to not have this happen all at one time, because I was probably the most impatient person to ever start this process. And my teachers would always have to pull me back and remind me, this doesn't happen overnight. You're learning a new skill. So patience is key for the simple reason that when we are getting impatient, and as humans, that's just how we are, right? So when we are getting impatient or trying to force things, we're just in resistance. And that's okay. That's how we are as humans, but resistance blocks contact. So the more we can approach this process gradually, understanding that it's going to unfold in the way that is perfect for you, and to know that it doesn't happen overnight. It will help you manage your expectations. So looking for very subtle signs at first. I always encourage people that I work with to focus on your physical body. Look for sensation, for color, for flashes of light, for tingles or feeling itchy, because these are some great signs that your guides are breaking through with you, that they are making connection with you. And then a great way to follow this up when you pick up on those first little signs of contact, the best practice you can do is say, thank you, please tell me more. That's one of the most powerful statements you can make, because you are acknowledging that you got them, you heard them, and that you are inviting more. Because as you do this more, as you ask for more contact and communication from your higher self, from your guides, they're going to give you more. But it doesn't come all at once. So if you have been practicing this for a little bit and feel like you're not getting anything, go back and try these little pointers, because our guides are talking to us all the time. And if we are not hearing it, it's probably because we're in the mind or because we're in resistance. As we start to slow down the process, relax a little bit with it, and when you know where to look, looking for those sensations, those feelings, it's going to help you get started a little more easily with this and recognize the contact when it actually happens, because it's there. So I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more what first contact actually looks like and how to prepare yourself for it. Sometimes just knowing how it actually looks in reality goes a long way to helping you recognize it. So let me know in the comments below, what questions do you have for the Pleiadians? Drop those in the comment box. And while you're down there, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.